Hi guys, this is gsnhome.com and I'm here with the unboxing of the Oppo Reno6 5G. It was unveiled this year, this summer, and we have it here. We're dealing with a mid-range phone which has some interesting camera features, including a special type of Bokeh Flare portrait which applies on video, and also hugely fast charging, as you can probably tell by this huge charger. Now, we've tested quite a few Reno phones. We started with the Reno3, then the Reno4 series, and then the Reno5, and now it's time for the Reno6. It's a triple camera handset with a squared body. It channels the vibe of an iPhone 12 from last year as far as the angularity is concerned. The price should be around $400, and let's start the unboxing right now. Speaking of starting, I'm going to fire up the phone. I have to say it sits quite well in my hand. I can already feel the cold metal frame here with antenna cutouts. And I'm going to put this on the side while we show you what's in the box. Okay, so first and foremost, we have this envelope here, which contains key components, key accessories like the case, which is transparent and flexible, protects the device. Also the key used to access the slots, only nano SIM ones, there is no micro SD here. We also have the usual manuals, instruction, SAR values, and so forth. And going deeper here, we have a bit of a surprise. We're getting headphones. Keep in mind that the Pro version of this phone doesn't offer headphones, so it's a bit of a surprise that the non-Pro one has them. You can see them here. We have the typical approach inspired by the Apple EarPods. We've seen Huawei doing similar things and quite a few other companies. And the connector is most likely USB-C. I'm going to have to check that because I'm pretty curious about it on account of not having a jack here. Yes, it's USB-C as anticipated. Other companies would have probably offered you 3.5mm sporting headphones and also an adapter, but no extra room in the case. And here we have the cable, which is a thicker than usual one in order to facilitate the fast charge. It's an USB-C to USB-A cable which hooks up to this giant adapter charger with an USB-A connector. It promises up to 65 watts, which offers fast charging, and you should be able to charge up the phone easily under 40 minutes. That's an estimation of mine. Okay, so back to the device. What we're dealing with here is a handset with a very bright screen, which I'm actually going to turn down a bit so you can properly distinguish what's being shown. And even after turning it down by 40%, it's still pretty bright. I have to say that the screen is pretty symmetrical and the bezels are quite slim up front. Now that we're done with everything inside the box, let's talk about the design. So, angular on all sides, feeling a bit like an iPhone 12, and it measures 7.6mm in thickness and weighs a decent 182 grams. It provides a solid amount of grip, that's what I'm feeling here. Doesn't feel like it's going to drop from my hand anytime soon, so that's nice. At the same time, it's a pretty solid device with a, I would say, rather small diagonal. So we're dealing here with a screen which offers a 6.43-inch diagonal, and this one is an AMOLED panel which is pretty bright. And once again, I'm going to have to tone it down a little bit so you can properly understand what we're dealing with here. So once again, it's an AMOLED 6.43-inch or Full HD resolution, and it has a 90 Hz refresh rate while also being protected by Gorilla Glass 5. Now if you go here, let's actually find some screen options: display and brightness, auto brightness, eye comfort, screen color temperature, vivid mode, and here you can find the refresh rate, which can be set to 60 Hz or 90 Hz, which is actually the default from the factory. Now that we're done with the screen and it feels totally bright, and I look forward for the review so I can tell you just how bright it is. Now we can have a gander at the device's specs so we can actually see what's inside. Okay, so when I mentioned that we're going to see what's inside, we're dealing here with a MediaTek CPU, the MediaTek Dimensity 900 5G, 6nm octa-core with a strong Mali G78 MC4 GPU. At the same time, it's accompanied by 8 gigs of RAM and 128 GB of storage, and I should probably mention there's no microSD here. And just as a quick mention, aside from the protection you see here, the case, there's also a screen protection already applied to this panel from the factory, a plastic one. Now, moving further, aside from the RAM and the storage, we have a 4300 mAh battery here, which juices up at 65 watts, which is pretty fast. If you look at the top, there's only the microphone and the two antenna cutouts. If you look at the bottom, you can see the speaker, which is a singular one. We don't have a stereo setup. Then there's the USB-C port, there's the microphone and the SIM tray, and that's it. No audio jack. On the connectivity front, this device provides you with a dual SIM setup, Wi-Fi 6, 5G, Bluetooth 5.2. At the same time, let's see here, it also has NFC for your payment needs. There's GLONASS, GPS, BDS and Galileo for your localizing, and USB-C 3.1 at the bottom. For security, we have an embedded fingerprint scanner in the screen. It's of the optical variety and should be pretty fast according to several tests which my colleagues have done on this handset. Now that we've gone so far, I think it's time to discuss the cameras. First and foremost, the one from the top left corner embedded in the screen and cut into the screen is a 32 megapixel selfie shooter. I think we've been seeing this type of cameras on the Oppo Reno phones for about 4 generations now. On the back side, we find a triple camera here with 3 sensors and quite the generous flash. The star of the show is a 64 megapixel shooter. Then there is the 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera and a 2 megapixel macro shooter. It films in 4K at 30 frames per second, and it has quite a few interesting modes, which I'm going to show you. Obviously, it sports the typical Oppo interface, which is, I would say, minimalistic. And here we have the AI mode with AI scene enhancement. This is the video mode with its own flavor of AI highlight video, which is pretty important. We also have extra ultra steady stabilization. We have a special night mode here with a tripod mode, which helps you capture, well, sights better if you have a tripod handy. Then we have the portrait, and this is the way you settle the bokeh depth. We have macro, extra HD, time-lapse, slow-mo, expert, which is basically the pro mode. We also have a text scanner, dual view video, film, panorama and sticker. But the core feature which actually sells the phone has got to be the video area. And if you go here, we have bokeh, but we have some extra features here. This may look like regular filters, but they're not. I mean, we have original, gentle, noon, subtle, pure, nostalgic and mono, but there are 2 of them which actually help selling the phone. So there is AI color portrait. What this does is, as you can see, it keeps me, let's go here. So this one keeps me in color, me and my clothes, and everything that's behind me will be devoid of colors and will become monochrome. Then there's this one, which is the Bokeh Flare portrait, and it's actually kind of cool. It keeps me in focus, and everything around me and behind me gets a sort of cool and artistic looking bokeh effect. But it's also, I would say, glittery, so if you have lights behind you, they'll feel like those from an indie music video. That's the best comparison I can make. So there's quite a few things to explore here. And once again, Oppo has been advertising this as the selling point, and I look forward to testing it to its full extent. Now, let's get out of here and talk about the software. Having covered everything about the phone camera-wise, I think it's time to share with you that we're dealing here with Android 11 with a strong shade of ColorOS 11.3 on top. We got some convenience tools here handy, including stuff for navigation, gestures, screenshot, screen recording. A smart sidebar is also here, and quick launch and so forth. This smart sidebar can be triggered from here, has a bunch of screenshots, and I'm pretty sure, of course, screenshot feature, screen recording, screen translator. These are floating apps which you can move on the screen and have them above your split screen multitasking area. From what I've heard, in some countries, quite a few of them, Oppo is offering 3 years of warranty, which is once again a selling point for this device. Considering the design and the color, it can be considered a sort of, I would say, iPhone 12 Pro replacement, color-wise and feeling-wise. If you held an iPhone Pro in your hand, it has the same feeling, and it comes with that extra bokeh flare portrait for the video, which I look forward to test. So far so good. For $400, it's actually not a bad device. I'm going to have to test the CPU and the battery before giving a proper analysis of the phone. That's it from us for now. This is gsn.com, and I hope you definitely enjoyed this video, because there are many more to come.